Hey guys, this is Mr. Amari here with another tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to go over how to start our TinkerCAD house. This is the first part of a multi-part tutorial. In this one I'm going to show you how to make the basic shape for the outside of a house with a door and a door frame and a roof on the top. So let's jump into it. First we're going to grab our box tool. We're going to drop it in the middle of our work plane. So we have our basic box shape just sitting there. For this tutorial, you're going to want to make sure that in your settings you set your units to millimeters. I'm doing this because we're going to be shrinking down this model pretty small so that I can add a lot of things to it and then later scale it up. So if you haven't done so already, again, go into your settings and change your units to millimeters. Once we have the box shape on our work plane, we're going to go ahead and click on the box. We're going to click on the bottom right little white bounding box, and we're going to make sure that the front is 20 millimeters across, which it already is. And we're going to make the width 40 millimeters. We're also going to go ahead and make the height 10 millimeters. This is where I should mention that going forward, I'm going to assume that you have a familiarity with the basics of TinkerCAD. Either you followed my previous tutorials or you've been in my class and know how to do the basics of moving and sizing a shape on the work plane. If not, please go back, take a look at some of my tutorials and some of my previous projects so you can see how to use the basic tools here in TinkerCAD. Once we have our box shape here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hollow out the middle of it. To hollow out the middle of it, we're going to take a look at it from the top. And we're going to go ahead and click our duplicate button while the box is selected. So again, click on the box, make sure it's selected. Move over to the duplicate button at the top, which is next to the garbage can button, and hit duplicate and repeat. Once you do that, you'll see a flash. That means there are two of the same shape in the same spot. What we're going to do is we're going to make one of the shapes slightly smaller than the other shape, so we have an inside shape and an outside shape. To do that, I'm going to go to the little black bounding boxes on each side of my shape. I'm going to click and hold on that top black bounding box. I'm going to bring it down by about 1 or 2 millimeters. So I'm going to go from 40 millimeters to 38 millimeters on the top. And then I'm going to do the same on the bottom, go from 38 millimeters here on my length to 36 millimeters, taking 2 millimeters away. Then we're going to do the same on the left and right side. That 20 becomes 18. And on the right side, that 18 will become a 16. We have our inside shape. What we're going to do is we're going to make it a little taller using that top white bounding box so that it sticks out a little bit and it's easier to grab. You'll notice that it goes all the way through from the bottom to the top. We're going to go into our shape menu, and like with our previous projects, we're going to use the hole button to make this shape into a hole. Then we need to group this by selecting both. That's left clicking and dragging using the red box over here. Make sure it's touching each of the things you want to group. Make sure your shape menu has the right number of shapes selected. Here it says 2. And then click this button right above the shape menu where it says group. This will give us the basic walls of the house. We notice there's no roof and no floor. We're going to take care of that later. Next thing we need to do is we need to put a door in this house. We need to make sure people can get in and out. To do that, I could just take any old shape here, push it into the wall, make it a hole, and call it the end of the day. I'd want to make it actually a very nice looking door with a door frame. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to create a rounded door shape using 2 other basic shapes. The first shape we're going to use is the box shape. So I bring that out, and it's its normal size. You notice it's about 4 times the size of the house. That's okay. We're going to fix that in a minute. But we're going to leave it this size for now so it's a little easier to work with. I am going to go ahead and click my Fit View to selected shapes. So I'm just focused on this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the rounded roof shape here in my basic shape library. I'm going to take that rounded roof, I'm going to drag it out and put it on top of the box shape. You'll notice that I got it on there, but not quite all the way, right? There's a gap over here, and it's not lined up over here, and I want this to be lined up perfectly. To make sure it's aligned perfectly, we can go ahead and select both of these shapes using our left click. 2 shapes are selected, and instead of grouping them though, we're going to go over here to the Align tool. When we click on that, it'll give us these alignment dots. We're interested in the alignment dots that are going from the x-axis and from the y-axis, not the z-axis that's going up and down. If we do that, we're going to wind up with the shapes in the middle of each other like that. What we want to do is organize them so that the left and right and front and back are in the same place. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and again select both of them, click the Align tool, and then I'm going to click these little dots that are in the middle of the x-axis and the one in the middle of the y-axis. It is perfectly aligned seamlessly. It looks kind of like a mailbox right now. What we're going to do is we're going to take these two shapes and select them, and we're going to go ahead and group them just like we did before with the house and the hole. This gives us one door shape. Now again, this is about 5 times the size of the house, and we don't want it to be 5 times the size of the house. Now I could just take each of these individual things and make them smaller. That's kind of annoying and takes a long time, and you might not get it exactly right. If we want to scale everything uniformly, that is, change the size all at the same time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the Shift key on my keyboard, go over to this white bounding box at the top, click and hold, and I'm going to drag downward. By holding the Shift key, I'm able to scale everything up and down at the same time. So I'm going to scale this down until it's about the size I want it to be. Let me get it placed right. Oops, sometimes that happens. There we go. We have it scaled down to where I want it to be, and we have a basic door shape in our wall. Now, of course, we need to make it so people can actually walk in and out of here. And I could just click on it, go to my shape menu, make it a hole, group it, and then call it a day. Problem is, I don't want to do that. I want it to look nicer. I want it to be a little more handsome. I want this house to really kind of have all the bells and whistles. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a door frame to where the door is going to be. The way we do that is we're going to focus in on our door shape. Then I'm going to flip the model upside down so I can see the bottom. I'm going to make sure, and I happen to just do this, this is purely by luck. When I placed it freehand, I was able to put it exactly so I have the same amount on the outside as on the inside. You might have to adjust it using these black bounding boxes. Once it's like that, I'm going to look at the front of it. I'm going to select just that door shape. I'm going to hit the duplicate and repeat button. So now I have 2 of them. And again, I'm going to go ahead and make them just a little smaller on every side for one of the shapes. Now I do the left and right. I'm not going to touch the front and back yet. I'm going to do left, right, and the height. Bring the height down. And you can see and probably guess where I'm going with this. We see the outside shape that'll be the door frame and the inside shape that we're going to make into a hole. To ensure that it cuts all the way through, we're actually going to bring this inside shape forward through the front of the door and backwards through the back of the door. This way it cuts through the wall of the house. We're then going to make sure we have this inside shape selected, hit the hole button, and then zoom out, select everything we've made so far, and group. And you can see that we have not just a hole in the wall, but we have a very handsome door frame surrounding it. So now the last thing we need to do to have our basic house is to make sure we have some way to keep the rain out. We need to have a roof. Luckily, TinkerCAD has a roof shape already pre-built for us. Nicely done. What we're going to do is we're going to put the roof shape onto the workspace, and we need to lift it up so that the bottom of this shape is flush with the top of this shape. So again, for us to lift it up on Z space, we're going to go ahead and grab this handle that's at the top, looks like a cone. I'm going to start bringing it up. Now I could try to eyeball it and try to make sure it's right, but instead of doing that, I'm going to use measurements to make my life easier. I'm going to lift it up a little bit until this box shows up, which is showing me the distance from the floor. Now I know that my house is 10 millimeters tall. So if I go into this box and just type 10, it'll automatically lift it 10 millimeters off the work plane, thus putting it directly where the top of the house is. And again, I could freehand put this on top of the house, but instead of doing that, why don't I just select both things, go ahead to the Align tool, and use the Align tool the same way we did with the door to align the roof with the body of the house. This is looking pretty good. Problem is, of course, we have these 2 big holes here that's going to let in a lot of rain, a lot of wildlife. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the roof. We're going to focus in on the roof. And we're going to use the black bounding box at the back of it to bring it to the wall of the house and to the front. Now, the last thing to make this look actually like a house, because this looks sort of like a house, but it looks weird. It looks almost more like a milk carton because there's something we're missing. Houses and buildings in general, when they have a roof like this, aren't flush with the side of the wall. You don't just have the ceiling and the roof. You don't just have the roof terminate right on the wall. What you usually have are what we call overhangs or eaves. That is, you have a little bit of the roof hanging out over each side of the house. To do that, we're going to go ahead and grab the black bounding box on each side, and we're going to bring it out by a couple of millimeters. You want to make sure that you're bringing it out equally on either side. So if you bring it out by 3 millimeters on one side, bring it out by 3 millimeters on every side. And once you've done that, you can see this looks way more like a house that we're used to, because now we have these eaves hanging out over the side of the house. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining me for this tutorial. That's how we make the basic body of our house. In the next tutorial, I'm going to show you how we can start customizing the overall shape, layout, and footprint of our house, so it doesn't just look like this little cookie cutter Monopoly house, but we can make it look like any real house that we'd like to have. Thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to being with you in the next video.